For nearly 22 years, the Catholic Diocese of Lexington has nurtured a dynamic community of more than 45,000 believers in the central Kentucky area. The diocese built this community on a foundation of living faith that began here in the late 1700s and grew as the seeds of faith took root and spread throughout the communities of central and eastern Kentucky. Our family now consists of 63 parishes and missions and supports vital ministries because of the dedicated service of our diocesan priests, religious men and women, and the selfless giving of our faithful laity. Now, in order to preserve and strengthen our Catholic faith and presence in the communities we serve, the diocese is embarking on an effort to raise $15 million, with every dollar raised going to specific needs and ministries within our diocese.
The capital campaign that we're initiating is the first time that the Diocese of Lexington has ever had a capital campaign diocesan-wide. In the year 2013, we will be celebrating the 25th year of the founding or the establishment of the Diocese of Lexington. So it seemed to be an appropriate time to launch this initiative. My vision for it is that it will provide for our parishes and for the diocese some very needed assistance to carry on the mission of the Church in this part of God's vineyard.
Strong parishes make a strong diocese. This campaign will also touch the many needs of our parish communities. The largest portion of our capital campaign funds will be returned to serve our local parishes. Each parish will have a financial target that will include its portion of the annual appeal for 2010. Once a parish surpasses its annual appeal target, 60% of the net funds will be returned to the parish. This campaign will aid parishes in meeting a variety of financial challenges. Individual parish needs range from building maintenance, debt reduction, new facilities, or raising endowment funds for parish services and ministries.
I am the pastoral associate at St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in Danville. We're one Holy Catholic Apostolic Church, and it's very important that our Catholic presence be felt in the community. As parishioners, we're going to be called upon to make a sacrifice. The sacrifice is necessary to continue the outreach of our programs and the viability of our facilities in order to provide those programs for those in need.
The design of this campaign is to primarily assist our parishes. It's in the parish where the Catholic family, the individual Catholic, really encounters the Church. It's there where our faith in Christ is enriched. It's from the parish that we go out into the world. And so it was my intention when we began speaking of this campaign that our parishes would be the primary beneficiaries of the monies that are realized in the campaign.
Providing for the well-being of our dedicated faithful priests upon their retirement is a commitment the diocese has dedicated itself to. The retirement plan for the current priests is only partially funded, and every effort must be made to ensure that their financial needs are met in their retirement years.
The word retirement is a little bit of a misnomer because almost all of our retired priests are out every weekend assisting our active priests.
I think most all of us go somewhere on a weekend to a different parish for a Mass or two Masses, or maybe the whole weekend itself, which is marvelous. I'm just celebrating my 51st anniversary. It's been 25 years up in Covington, Kentucky, and then the other 26 then would be down here. You know, you really come to know a family. You may even have their wedding. And it's just that relationship that you have, and you're there with them, baptism and confirmation. You're there with graduations. You're just part of that. And deaths, you go through the whole thing with it. I thought a priest would die in the rectory. That's the kind of, when I was ordained in 58, that's normally what was the case. And I thought that was the way it was going to be. I didn't expect to retire. We have our housing now, and we get together at 9 o'clock during the week to celebrate Mass together. The health insurance, so they do an awful lot for us. There's no two ways about it. We're very appreciative of what's done. were treated very, very well. Again, because of the generosity of people. I always wanted to become a priest since I was 5 years old. If you came to my house, I'd give you a nickel wafer. You ever see those nickel wafers, those little small candies? I gave out communion.
The costs of education have risen dramatically over the past few years, and our seminarians' education program has felt this same impact. The cost to educate one seminarian during just 1 year of the 8-year education and formation program is approximately $35,000. With 12 men currently studying for ordination to the priesthood, the collective cost to the Diocese of Lexington is over $400,000 annually.
As we say, without the priesthood there is no Eucharist, and without the Eucharist there is no church. I think I was only about 7 or 8 years old, and I remember hearing the choir, and I didn't know it was a choir. All that I knew was that when the priest held up the Eucharist, these voices came out of nowhere. It was a beautiful experience, and I thought to myself, I want to be a part of this. One day I want to pray Mass and have these beautiful voices come out of nowhere. We're living right now within a renaissance in our church. John Paul II referred to this time as a new springtime of the church, where men and women will come forward and, like the saints of old, stand up for the faith. And we're seeing that now. These are the times in which we're living. And without the financial help, also the spiritual help of the people of God, it could not happen.
Keeping a Catholic education affordable for our families is also a top priority for the diocese. Tuition rarely covers the cost of educating the more than 4,300 students in our schools, and the funds generated in this campaign will create a restricted tuition assistance fund to make sure that our schools are available to parents who choose our Catholic schools for their children.
I'm well aware that not every one of our parishes has its own Catholic school, and yet as members of the Catholic Church, we are all invested in this important mission of educating our young people. It's becoming increasingly difficult for our families to have their children in Catholic schools because of the cost of educating our students. And so I think our diocese and our faith community as a whole has an obligation to assist those families who do want Catholic education for their children but may not be able to afford it at this time.
The main compliments I get about my kids is they have such big hearts. They're very respectful, and they care about other people's feelings. I feel like a large part of that is because they have gone to Catholic school, and Amory goes to Catholic school.
I like that I can talk about God and Jesus and pray for when I know who's someone who's sick. They like to teach us Bible stories and tell us about Jesus' miracles. I get to learn a lot more, and it makes me feel kind of special that I get to learn more about everything and get experiences that a lot of people usually don't get to have.
Through a program established by Bishop Ronald Gaynor, the diocese supports the Father Biting Appalachian Mission Center in eastern Kentucky in its efforts to provide vital necessities such as food, clothing, and energy payment assistance to thousands of people in need throughout that rural part of our state. This program reaches people, Catholic and non-Catholic alike, who need our help.
My family is very poor. We lived in what they called an old chicken coop.
They had tried to make it a situation where they could live in it.
And there wasn't adequate heat. My mother, she would get up every morning and build a little tiny fire to try to keep all of us warm.
It's hard to concentrate on things like school and education, but those immediate needs like I'm cold, I need something to eat. The beginning goal was to create some stability. And
they got me situated. They got my trailer for me, and I call it my mansion, my home, my mansion. That's what the saying is. 'Cause I had tried, to get jobs, and that would be almost one of the first interview questions they would ask me. Do you have your high school diploma or GED? And I'd kind of look down at the ground and say, no, I didn't complete it.
Poverty is a form of bondage that the only way you can get out, you have to start unlocking it. And A GED is one of the simplest ways to begin to get out of it.
After working with our volunteer one-on-one, I received and earned my GED. The job I have now, Northeast Kentucky Community Action Agency, they're a nonprofit organization, and they weatherize people's homes, and they get funding in the wintertime to help with home heating bills. It's a hard job, and I have worked hard to get to where I'm at.
Delphi goes to work every day. She helps us help other people. By helping her once, the people she's been able to help is countless.
And I tell them, you know, I've been there. I've walked in your shoes. Trust me, I have. I mean,
Delphi's done whatever it takes to keep her family together. We know that that's the person we want to invest in. We're not about creating dependency. We're about creating success.
I've had a rough life, I really have. And they have rescued me, and I just feel I owe them my praises. And
the annual appeal is a critical component of our Appalachian Mission Assistance Program, or AMAP. The general contributions fund the programmatic work of our diocesan church by providing financial assistance to our local parishes, Catholic schools, and campus ministry. The distribution of donations through grant subsidy programs, AMAP, and the annual appeal are the operating and evangelizing financial means by which we, as church, are able to fulfill our Christ-given mission in these communities. $1.5 million from the One in Faith and Mission campaign will be set aside to ensure our continued vital support of our mission parishes and programs. The annual appeal will return as a separate appeal in 2011. Think for a moment about the many ways in which the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Lexington, Kentucky has touched your life and what it has meant to you over the years. Consider all the ways that your life and our diocesan community has been blessed by the many gifts God has bestowed upon us. Bishop Gaynor invites you, as a member of the diocese, to consider the stewardship and sacrifice you can offer.
The measure of success for our capital campaign, One in Faith and Mission, will be the 100% participation of all the people in our diocese. In addition to your prayerful support, I rely on the responsible stewardship of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Even though we are in very challenging economic times, each of us must admit that we have been greatly blessed. Would you consider embracing a measure of sacrificial giving to do your part to make our capital campaign a great success? I thank you for all that you are already doing as a member of our Catholic family, and I thank you for your prayerful consideration of your part in the success of our capital campaign, One in Faith and Mission. May God continue to bless you richly.